Om Bhadram Karnebihi Shriniyamadeva Bhadram Pashyema Akshabirya Jatraha Stirairangaish Tushtuvam Sastanuvir Vyashema Devahitam Yadayahu. May we hear with these ears what is good and spiritual. May we see with these eyes what is noble and uplifting. And may we, while worshiping the Lord and Mother of the universe, with healthy minds and bodies, live a life that is beneficial to ourselves and to all others. Om peace, peace, peace. Meditate, O mind, on the mystery of Mother Kali, using any method of worship that you please, or simply breathe day and night her holy name as the living seed of transforming power planted by the Guru in your heart. Om peace, peace, peace. So tonight we will continue on our study of mantra. Let's take a quick look at our list of verses so we know where we are. Sorry. There we go. So we are working on verse 8, and I'm hoping that we'll get into verse 9 tonight. We have, this verse says, shortly thereafter, I met my incomparable Guru, who described to me the three designations of aspirants, conferring upon me the three necessary prerequisites to spiritual life. He established me formally in the sacred path. We are working on mantra right now, which is part of the three necessary requisites, not prerequisites, three necessary requisites to spiritual life. And they are initiation, mantra, and guru. And we've spoken earlier in verse 7 about the guru, and we've talked about all of the other items. So let's do a quick review of where we went with the mantra. I was sharing with you last time out of this book, Seeing God in Everything. There are about 5 chapters at the very end where Swami Shraddhananda discusses in beautiful depth about the mantra in different aspects. And actually, there's a lot of repetition in those 4, so that's really good too. And he refers to the practice of mantra as mantra yoga. And you might all remember that over the last 8 years or so, Babaji has done several, or 2 at least, class series on mantra, purification via the mantra, overcoming karma via the mantra, spiritual practice via the mantra. So you can find all of that on SRV's YouTube channel. Just under there's a playlist that says mantra. It has the word mantra in it, and it will have all those series in it, so you can go back and review those. So before we launch into that, I wanted to share that over the last week, especially since the seminar that we had, I've been thinking about this statement of Holy Mothers and thinking about it in conjunction with the practice of mantra, because we know that she's referred to as Japa Siddhini and also Japa Harini, she who is perfected and she who perfects by mantra. And she who saves by mantra, because she was perfect in mantra, perfect in mantra practice. And she said, referring to some of her students who would come to her and complain about the miseries and the mental suffering that they had. And one day it must have really, really gotten to her uh, in particular. And she said, "Let those who complain of mental worry do what I did. Let them get up very early in the morning and sit for meditation. Let me see if they can still have any worry of mind." Now, this is a quote that I've seen many times, and we also know that she would get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and practice japa after her bath and just sit on the back stoops, back stairs of the little tiny Nahabat that she lived in at Dakshineswar and spend like 2 or 3 hours doing japa and practicing meditation, going into meditation, becoming absorbed, which is something that the mantra can lead us into, this absorption in meditation. And so in the early days of mantra practice, I would think about that and go, wow, I don't think I could do that. 100,000, 300,000 repetitions of the mantra a day. It just seemed um, incomprehensible, but Holy Mother did it, so we should think that it's very indeed possible. But over time in using the mantra and unwrapping the transmission that comes with it, it's a transmission of faith, of love, of wisdom. All of that comes wrapped up in that tiny seed of a mantra that we're given. The whole wisdom of our lineage is wrapped up in that seed and deposited into our hearts by our guru. Over time of unwrapping that, we begin to feel the presence. Like Anurag said during this last class a couple of weeks ago, he said, you get this feeling that when you say the mantra, the deity, the Ishtam, is peeking out at you and saying, we're here, right? So over time, you begin to feel the presence. As soon as you even think the mantra, the presence of God is there, because we know that the mantra and the Ishtam are the same thing. It's one and the same. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of Sri Krishna and Rukmini and Satyabhama, I forget the name of the minister, one of Sri Krishna's ministers. And he was going through this I don't know, this study, this analysis of what is equal to Krishna. And so he had these two big scales, and he had Sri Krishna sit on one side, and then he piled all kinds of things, gold and jewels and elephants and chariots and whatnot. And Sri Krishna was still. The pan that he was sitting on was on the ground. Well, Rukmini, his consort, walks up, sees what's going on. She just laughs. She plucks a leaf off of a tree, and she writes the name of Krishna on it, has them remove everything that's on that other hand of the scale, sets that leaf there, and the scales equal out. So all of this is to tell us that the name and that signified by the name are identical. So when we begin to contemplate the mantra in this way, then the immediacy of the divine presence, the immediacy of God, what does God mean to us? What have we learned about the nature of God with form, not without form, beyond both form and formlessness? What have we learned in our classes, in our studies, in the scriptures? And all of that comes welling up into this immediate flash. And so if you're spending time with God, what kind of worry can you have? So I began to hear Holy Mother's statement in this completely different way. Let them get up very early in the morning and sit for meditation, and let me see if they can still have any worry of mind. Where God is, what kind of anxiety can there be? What kind of suffering? So this is that precious treasure of the mantra for us. So So we begin again with this idea that the name and what it signifies are identical. And we water that knowledge bit by bit. And over the span of our practice, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, it's just getting more and more precious. So now, something else that Swami Shraddhananda points out in his chapters on mantra is that he says, according to the teachers and the scriptures, there are three things necessary for the mantra to reach the level of enlightening power. Because isn't that what we're talking about? Raising our consciousness through the power of the mantra to be an enlightening power. Maybe we've never thought of it that way, but that is what's happening. And so, in order for this to happen, three things are necessary: purity of body, eagerness for God's vision, and dispassion regarding the sense enjoyments. So, with regard to purity of the body, it kind of takes us to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, where Sri Krishna is talking about the different kinds of austerity. And what are austerities for? They're for purification. And so there's purification of the body, purification of act, and purification of, or austerity, I should be saying, austerity of the mind. There's these three that he talks about in that chapter, in the verses around number 14 in chapter 17. And where he's speaking about the austerity of the body, he's talking about worship of God, worship of the teachers and the wise, purity, uprightness, and straightforwardness. Interesting. We would think of that maybe as sort of a mental practice, but everything, thought, word, and deed, will show through the body. So uprightness and straightforwardness, the Sanskrit for that is arjavam. Continence, that means controlling the senses, controlling the desires of the mind through the senses to their objects. So continence is necessary, and the practice of non-injury. These are all the austerity of the body, and when practiced, they purify the body. The mantra also purifies the body. So then eagerness of, so that's one, purity of body. Eagerness for God's vision, we need to have that, and if we're practicing all of those others, if we're practicing self-control through brahmacharya, continence, then we're checking the flow of the senses going outward, then we're going to have dispassion regarding the sense enjoyments, and that's going to make room for eagerness for God's vision. And again, the mantra itself helps with that. So we don't practice these things so that we can practice mantra. We're doing all of it at the same time. Yeah. And so we remember Holy Mother saying that, the mantras that she would give were imbued with the power of renunciation. So these mantras coming down to us through Holy Mother, through Swami Sheshananda, through the order, through Babaji, these are imbued with renunciation, which means that by repetition and concentrating on the meaning of the mantra, then this dispassion is going to develop. So now we're ready to do a quick review with a few little extra points about this practice of mantra yoga. So step one, the Swami tells us, repeat the holy name with great faith in its efficacy, right? Efficacy, that inside of it is the power of enlightenment, the power of self-realization, is the very presence and identity of God. The mantra is one with the ideal it names. And keep in mind that the mantra is connected with the power of divine consciousness. This is a very powerful thought itself, in and of itself, just like, if it's the power of divine consciousness and it's one with the chosen ideal of God, then as soon as you say it, as soon as we say it, we are there in the presence of God. Step 2, merge the mantra vibration into the movement of the life force. That is, consciously supply the mantra to the prana. And as this occurs, one will either immediately or over time through practice experience the movement of the prana itself as mantra repetition. So that's a very powerful thought. Think about taking in air, breathing in, breathing out, and that it's repeating, the prana now is infused with the mantra. And this is, as you breathe out, the mantra is being repeated. And this is probably quite related to that practice of ajapa that Babaji has shared with us, taught about in previous classes. This ajapa mantra is where the mantra repeats spontaneously with the breath. There's a lot more to it than that, of course. Every action of the prana, right? There's 5 kinds of prana. So every action of the prana, digestion, uh, the beating of the heart, the circulation of nutrients and blood, etc., upward moving, downward moving, all of these are pulses of this mantra, which goes right back to the primal vibration. And that was something else. I don't remember if I got around to saying it last time, is that this practice of mantra is based upon the ancient Vedic wisdom that, that God and its name are one, that Om is God, God with form, God formless, God beyond form, in all those different ways. And over time, as the different Ishvara type deities came to the fore, Ishvara deities are like Vishnu, like Shiva, uh, like Surya, well, these different kind, and then of course Mother Kali, Mother Durga, etc. When these Ishvara, and by calling them Ishvara, that means they have been idealized. They are the ultimate reality in form or concept, are identical with Om. So Om and these divine names are also identical. So this pulse of the primal vibration reverberating through the mantra, through Om, through the divine name, through the bija mantra, the seed bija in there, then, through the prana, all of this is pulsing through us. And this is what we are to imagine and then experience. First, we have to open a nadi mentally to the very possibility, and then we can experience it. So then, through this practice, great harmony descends into the prana. And when we hear about harmony and think about this harmony, then we know that we're becoming saturated with sattva being. And then we can move it to the sense organs, he says. Under this influence, repetition of the mantra can then be directed to the external senses, the eyes, the ears, the nostrils, the tongue, the skin, and they become purified along with the internal sense perceptions, hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, and touching, right? So we want to do this consciously. And those of us who've been practicing the mantra for a long time, we know that when any disturbing thought comes, we lay the mantra on it, right? And that calms it, pushes it aside, dissolves it, takes it out of our mind. Okay. So, if disturbing sense perceptions come, we lay the mantra on it. It's like, in I think it's the Ishavasya Upanishad that says, uh, everything, this entire universe is to be covered with the Lord. So the mantra is a way of doing that. So when the sense organs become imbued with sattva in this way, through this practice, their power to cause distraction and suffering changes. And so remember Holy Mother telling us, these disciplines cut asunder the bonds of past karma and subdue the outgoing tendencies of the sense organs. Okay, step 3. The next step is to supply the mantra to the mental waves. Now, all of these other things are mental waves, right? When we think about the prana, that's a mental wave. When we have experiences of thirst and hunger, uh, pain, etc., these are waves in the mind. When we perceive a sunset or a tree or the stars, that's a wave in the mind. And these are all grosser waves. Now we're going to think about different other kinds of thoughts that rise in the mind. And we're going to consciously supply the mantra to those as well. And um, so just keep remembering that this mantra is connected to divine consciousness. As such, it's pure sattva. The next step, when the body, the senses, the prana, and the mind are all infused with sattva through this practice, then it is time to purify objects and the phenomena that appears outside of ourselves. And this is where we quoted, and it's worth repeating here. We quoted Holy Mother saying that first a person makes their own mind impure, and then they can see impurity. But here we're reversing the process and we're making our mind pure. And therefore we will see purity in everything. When they talk about having pure senses, what's missing from everybody else in somebody who has pure senses? The attachment is missing. The desire is missing. The sense of, I own this, or I've made this happen, uh, or I'm getting pleasure from this is all gone. That ownership and agency and sense of separation are dissolving or gone. So that, using the senses in that state is purity of senses. And Babaji had a beautiful quote one in the a God blog, I think 2 weeks, going on 2 weeks now, where he quoted Swamiji, where he was talking about when a being enters into the higher and highest samadhis, this changes the way they interact with the world. And a good deal of that has to do with there isn't anything they want anymore. And so the senses are immediately purified through that lack of egoism operating through them and impelling them. So think about what we've done so far in this practice, what's been laid out for us. We're repeating the mantra with love and faith, self-surrender, sincerity. We're breathing it, we're consciously supplying it to the prana, and then we're consciously supplying it to the senses, and now we're consciously supplying it and letting it permeate the external world, what appears to us as the external phenomena. So this begins to get into what the Swami refers to as pervasion of the mantra. And um, I think there's probably another word for that that appears in a chart that Babaji has, and we might get to that. Um, what the Swami says about it is that mantra gradually raises the heart, and by heart we also mean the mind, to higher levels of spiritual reality. And mantra pervasion is one such level. Now, it started as a practice because we heard about it. And so now, well, let's see what that's like. I'm going to consciously do this. But then it becomes a fact that the mantra is pervading everything, right? It's one with the primal vibration. It's one with the Ishtam, and nothing exists outside of us or inside, but different stages of manifestation of that vibration. So when this is perceived as an ongoing thing, then we have statements like from Ram Prasad, uh, all sounds that you hear are her natural mantras, arising spontaneously as the entire world worships her. Or Goddess Kali uh, exists in the letters, the power of Goddess Kali exists in the letters of every alphabet. And each and every letter secretly bears the power of her name. So when we begin to feel this, this is pervasion of the mantra. And I would think that it's getting very, very close to uh, what's referred to as mantra Chaitanya, but that's actually kind of coming up here. So now we get to go where we haven't gone before yet. All of that was review and should have been mostly in your notes, except we didn't talk about mantra pervasion specifically. So the Swami continues in these stages of mantra yoga in this way. The next stage transcends the need to direct the mantra internally or externally. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Mantra yoga transcends at the next stage, mantra yoga transcends the need to direct the mantra internally or externally. So it's moving on its own. He goes on, one's understanding that the mantra is identical with the Ishtam strengthens. The chosen ideal's form or the impersonal ideal of God that one is using should be present in the mind. Now, this is something that we've practiced all along, isn't it? All of those, every one of us who's present in this class has been initiated with a mantra. And so the Ishtam, we repeat the name and the mantra, and we visualize the form of the Ishtam. So this becomes even more identical. If I say the word tree, you see the tree, don't you? And if I say the word Ramakrishna, you see an image of Ramakrishna in your mind, maybe his face, maybe, his whole posture sitting with his hands folded, etc. Same with if I say Holy Mother, you see her image. So all of this becomes even more and more pat that the chosen ideal's form or the impersonal idea of God is present in the mind. And as this ripens, the mantra and the ishtam are increasingly unified. So it may have been, up until this point that he's talking about here, it may have been an intellectual understanding that we had. But here we're talking about truly realizing it, getting beyond just the intellectual frame of reference around that teaching that mantra and ishtam are identical. And when this happens, it results in the awakening of mantra Chaitanya, the divine consciousness implied in the mantra. So much could be said about this, that dynamic intelligence of the Divine Mother flowing through the mantra, you know, whether the mantra ideal is personal, male or female, or impersonal, it doesn't matter. That dynamic intelligence, which is conscious, dynamic consciousness is flowing, and it's flowing through us, and it's flowing through the mantra. He continues, no more doubts remain about the unity of the mantra in the Ishtam. Just think about that for a moment. If you haven't experienced this, think about what it would feel like to experience this. Use your imagination a little bit. No more doubts remain about the unity of mantra and Ishtam, and the heart will be filled with joy and peace. Think back, that quote from Holy Mother, let them do what I did. Let them get up early in the morning and practice japa and meditation. And then let me see if they can have any mental worry by doing that, right? The heart will be filled with joy and peace. Slowly one feels that the mantra as Shabda Brahman as sound, is emanating from the inmost center of the universe. Isn't that beautiful? Now remember, when we say universe, we don't just mean the physical universe. And wouldn't that be grand enough to see, to experience directly that this Shabda Brahman is emanating from the center of that? But no, because that's external, right? Apparently so. But it's all the universe, the entire, from the collective mind to the cosmic mind, all of that, it's emanating from the center of that and beyond. In this stage, he continues, the mantra is increasingly revealed as consciousness, capital C. It is felt to be the radiant light of consciousness, flooding the heart with immeasurable peace. And so when this happens, there's different kinds of temperaments experiencing this. The Gyanis practice mantra, also, not just the devotees. So for the devotees, they will experience the Ishtam as the light of consciousness, and love for the Ishtam gets intensified. For followers of the path of knowledge, the mantra reveals its deepest reality of the self. It reveals the deepest reality of the self. Thus, mantra Chaitanya and Atma Chaitanya, mantra Chaitanya and Atma Chaitanya become one. And when the mantra is transformed, let's put quote unquote, it's always been consciousness, but our awareness of this, our consciousness, Lo-Si, has through the practice gone inward to more and more subtle levels. And so when the mantra is thus transformed into consciousness, capital C, the whole universe is experienced as consciousness, emerging from mantra consciousness. The five elements and all that are made of them are known as the emanation of this consciousness. And wait, there's more. The final stage is the next stage. Here he says, Shabda Brahman is continually revealing itself in its own glory. Body, mind, and prana are thus known as expressions of mantra Chaitanya, and the universe too are all expressions of this mantra consciousness, mantra Chaitanya. It's living. In this stage, is it possible to perceive dualities? He asks. Is there an inside and outside? Is there a preceding and a succeeding? When consciousness is realized as the supreme, both space and time merge in consciousness. And so when I was doing the study for this and the note taking and all, as I heard this, both space and time merge into consciousness. It made me think of that song, that devotional bhajan, Sharda Ramakrishna Name Bande Keche Rebai. And Anurag and Akshay, I heard that already, but I'm going to go ahead and play for us the translation and just think about it. Here you are, that devotee, and let's say that all this practice of mantra is in you. It's in you as a fact. It may be in you as a future realization. And this poet, I think it's Ramprasad, uh, is experiencing it through, or no, it's not Ramprasad. Whoever the composer of the lyrics, they had this experience, I'm sure, of the mantra and the Ishtam being identical. And thus we have this beautiful song. So I have to share my screen in order to play this. One moment. Here we are.
Sharda Ramakrishna Name Bande Ke Chere Bai. Precious brothers and sisters, can you hear that distant sound sweeping towards us? Like the approach of a great flood, the powerful names of Sharda and Ramakrishna are storming the boundaries of relative existence, like a surging ocean of ecstatic bliss, annihilating the imaginary boundaries between matter and spirit. The courageous devotee who stands before the onrush of these waves of pure knowledge beholds the dissolution of the entire phenomenal universe as it is swept away in an overwhelming conflagration of unifying love. Oh, what an awesome sight! What an unimaginable experience! Can you sense the sweet spiritual wind of their pervasive presence? Why not raise your sail to catch it? Strike off the moorings which tie the boat of your aspiring mind to the harbor of mundane attachments. Sing Ma, Ma, Ma. Pray earnestly for their grace and take refuge in Kali, the divine mother of the universe. Sharda Ramakrishna Name Bande Ke Chere Bai. Vishwabhuban Beshe Gelo Aha Boli Hari Jai.
Yes. I hope you caught the whole flavor of that mantra yoga in that song. So now we're going to move. I want to read to you something from Babaji's Sword of the Goddess chapter 11, referring to mantra. And this will kind of summarize and also take us to another place with it. On the level of attainment, the mantra awakens slumbering consciousness and makes it aware of the infinite world of the spirit, including the levels of awareness corresponding with the 7 chakras symbolically associated with the human spinal column. It works this wonder due to the power inherent in it, which is the force of subtle but intense meaning that belongs to the universal wisdom mother herself. This inner power vested in the sacred mantra is called Hardakala and is the life force of the mantra. It is what the luminaries describe as the conscious side of the mantra, the unknown content in it that usually goes undetected, thus unused. So actually, we should talk about how when the mantra is given to us, remember, we get 1/4 when the guru gives it to us. We get the audible side, but packaged within it and in the transmission from the guru is 3 other parts. And this is the part that often goes undetected because people don't practice the mantra seriously. What is generally used, that which is given as mantra at the time of initiation, is only 1/4 of the actual content of the mantra. The Vedas state that the other 3 parts remain obscured, that is, hidden in a cave of the heart. The guru explains this to the aspirant, and he or she must uncover these subtle 3 portions through practice. So then another part of that chapter on the mantra talked about it's a tantric teaching about the 4 results of practice of the mantra. And also these are the purposes of initiation. And these are meaning, primary directive, secondary directive, and the result. And I'll just describe them very briefly before we go on. So the meaning is to exert and strive. That's the meaning of initiation and getting the mantra, is to exert and strive. Like Holy Mother said, the true purpose of initiation is to try and realize God through sincere spiritual effort. And so what does it mean to exert and strive? Babaji says in this chapter that it requires a desire to be free of suffering. And if one has a sincere desire for liberation, sadhana is absolutely necessary, as this is what draws the attention of God and Guru. So the meaning is to exert. The primary directive is to attain spiritual perfection. So even though to exert and strive, we require a desire to be free of suffering. Why do we want to be free of suffering? Because we want to attain spiritual perfection. And this suffering stands in the way. The more we suffer, the more we take it to be real. I mean, there's so much that goes into this. All the teachings that teach us to discriminate between the real and the unreal. All of this has to get wrapped together. Holy Mother says in this regard, attaining spiritual perfection, that God is realized only through his grace. Nonetheless, one must perform japa and meditation, for they remove the impurities of one's mind. As one gets the fragrance of a flower by handling it, or the scent of sandalwood by rubbing it against a stone, similarly, one becomes spiritually awakened by continuously contemplating the divine. But you can become illumined right now if you become desireless. So that's the primary directive, attaining spiritual perfection. The secondary directive is freedom from the cycles of karma and rebirth. And Holy Mother says, through spiritual practices, the ties of past karma are cut asunder. And then what is the definitive result? The Tantra states that it is the awakening of Kundalini Shakti, leading to the revelation of the Atman within. So that brings to a conclusion this section on mantra, and on that chapter, on that verse about being established formally on the spiritual path. Now, what does actually, we only have 15 minutes left, and I can begin the next verse, but I wanted to open up. Are there any questions or comments at this point?
I don't have a question, but I really like when you're talking about, letting go of suffering, and it reminds me of the line of the Gita, which is one of my favorites. Let this separation from union with pain be known as yoga. I mean, it's so simple, but it's so powerful just to let go of pain. It's being willing to. And the mantra is so powerful in that regard.
Yes.
Because you have to,
Yeah,
you can't realize the fruits of the mantra while indulging in brooding, you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, for me, that practice of repeating the mantra and making the mind focus in that this is God. I'm with God right now. As I say this mantra, I'm with God. I'm with my ideal. Where can there be suffering then? And
Yeah.
I think that's also I remember hearing years ago uh, a devotee couple at the Portland Vedanta Society. They'd been with Swami Sheshanandaji for decades, and they became custodians of the Scapus Center. And they also, over time, their bodies became quite elderly. And so the man was no longer able to move about. He was approaching death. And his wife reported to Swami, yes, he just lays in bed and he repeats his mantra all day. All day long, he repeats his mantra. So,
It's great. Yeah, you also talked about grace, and I heard a really nice talk by a Swami who on YouTube I'd never heard of before. He was saying grace comes, but at the but it comes once we've given our all in terms of effort.
mm,
So I mean, I wish that wasn't the case, but you know, grace is grace. But yeah, I think it speaks to the importance of effort and not waiting around for you know. Grace to drop on, fall in our laps.
right, right. Yeah, Holy Mother says that um, this is definitely related, that the ego persists as long as there is self-assertiveness. So, yeah. Well, on that note, we will come to a close here. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahoy Tejasvi Navaditamastu Ma Vidvi Shavahoy Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May Brahman protect us. May Brahman sustain us. May Brahman illumine our thinking consciousness. May we not find fault with each other, with the world, or with the teachings. And may what we study be a source of inspiration to us eternally. Peace, peace, peace. May peace be unto us. May peace be unto all living beings. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om Tat Sat. Let me